Right, hello everyone. Welcome to Camp Church. Today we're going to be talking from the fundamentals of Unicult about unconditional love. And we did recently have a sermon on forgiveness, which is definitely tied into unconditional love. So we'll just be spending a little bit of time on forgiveness when we're talking about unconditional love. But there's a lot more to unconditional love than forgiveness. And so hopefully by the end of this sermon, you're going to be in a much better place to vibrate on a frequency that is more suitable for you. Because when we find unconditional love for ourselves and for others and for our circumstances, we end up having a better life. The whole point of all of the Unicult teachings is that they do benefit the world, but even if you're a sociopath or a psychopath, you can also vibe with the teachings of Unicult because we're all one. So even from a very selfish perspective, all of these teachings can benefit you because we are actually all connected. So if you're interested in following along in the book, if you have the book, if you don't have it, you can get it at Unicult Supply Co. We're going to be talking from page, are we on page 100 yet? 198. On page 98. So if you have the book, you can turn to page 98. And I like this first sentence here. It says, unconditional love is the idea that you can love someone. Can you hear me? I lowered the volume on accident when we were jamming out earlier. Okay, unconditional love is the... Okay, let's go. Unconditional love is the idea that you can love someone no matter what they do. It is the melody by which the universe is created. If you understand vibration, you understand frequency, you understand harmonic resonance on any level, from a spiritual level or a scientific level, however you perceive of these things, you know that we are all energy, and this is so trite because it's been said so many times, but the importance of this piece of information is that our energy is emotional. And people haven't necessarily paired those two things together, but your emotional state creates your vibration. Every single one of your cells in your body actually is vibrating on an emotional frequency that you are charging with your emotions, and it is radiating out and resonating with the earth and with everyone else. We're living in a big soup with each other. It's an energy soup. And your internal emotional state affects everybody else, and it affects the world coming back at you, and the world coming in you affects you, and it's this giant refractive mirror of multifaceted gems of each person. So the truth of reality, and A Course in Miracles talks about this. I think that's a good book if you really have trouble trusting the universe, trusting God, trusting your higher power, whatever you want to call it. You don't feel safe in your body, you don't feel safe in your life. That's probably because you had a ton of trauma. And what we understand in Unicult is that, I did this diagram yesterday, I think it could help. This is the 3D realm that we have going on right now. It's this. This is another picture of the same thing, okay? And then we've got the rainbow coming in, and the rainbow is actually Unitopia. And through the brainwash portal, we get to find Unitopia. The thing is that there is this line here separating us from Unitopia. There's a line right here in between the brainwash spiral, sorry, it's backwards, the brainwash spiral and our Unitopian paradise. So what is that line? What is the thing that separates our hologram reality, the 3D reality, what we perceive as the form reality, from the higher reality of our truth, or, Unitopia or heaven? And it's simply the validation of our emotional state, the validation of truth. Truth is how you feel. And we have learned, because of our parents, because of society, to repress how we feel and to operate from a place of falsity. The falsity is what creates the hologram reality, the false, structure that is damaging and toxic to us all. The reason why it's important to understand the delineation between the hologram and between our honest and true emotional state is that once we accept and embrace and live in our truth, and we make space for our negative emotions. I'm not talking about just shoving away all bad emotions. I'm talking about honestly and clearly telling each other how we feel, what we need, what we want, and having honest relationships, honest communication, we actually then have the opportunity to see the universe for what it really is. Earth, in many ways, is an illusion, and it's a separation illusion, and it's hard to understand this from a perspective of having been traumatized. A ton of spiritual leaders are always like, "Oh, we're all just like so separated," and it sounds very kooky sometimes. But the truth is that we are truly all one, and it doesn't mean that who you are doesn't matter. It does. It matters immensely. It's one of those funny paradoxes. It's like, I love how the words all one and alone are so close to each other, because we feel so alone, and you are in many ways alone. You are the only operator of your unique energy. There is nobody else operating your unique energy. And it can feel very lonely, but also we're all in solidarity with each other because of that fact. Everybody has their own unique energy that they're operating from, and they're alone in that fact, but we're all together co-creating this beautiful reality. So when we are looking at the truth of reality, we see that we are all one. We see that everyone is going through the same things, and we see that fear and pain are actually illusions, and that we are always supported. And it's confusing, and I'm not trying to delegitimize trauma, because I myself have had my fair share of trauma. You know, I don't think it's not a fair share. It's not a good thing to have. But the idea that we are separated, the idea of fear and pain, is what creates more fear and pain. But if we can raise our vibration through healing, through totally validating it and healing it, if we can heal ourselves beyond that point, we then can enter back into the state of harmony where we are all loved and accepted and cherished. And the way to do that is through unconditional love. And as we find unconditional love for ourselves, and unconditional love means standing up for our truth, standing up for what we need, standing up for who we are, standing up for what we've been through. As we find unconditional love for who we are, then we can start having unconditional love for others. The ability to find unconditional love can be selfish. It can be so that you are radiating and resonating on a higher vibrational frequency that will sustain you and nourish you, and also allow you to manifest the world that you truly want and deserve. Unconditional love, we're going to talk about this sermon in 3 parts. We're going to talk about it in finding love for the things that are obvious, and then finding love for things that are neutral, and then finding love for things that are dark and depressing. And we're going to split that into 2 things, and we're going to talk about unconditional love for yourself and unconditional love for others. Obviously, we cannot start our journey of unconditional love without first and foremost having unconditional love for ourselves. You cannot give from an empty cup. You absolutely have to be selfish in this way, where you allow yourself to be the energy that you want to give. I tell this story a lot, but when I was 12 years old, I was a born-again Christian, and I had a parent who was an addict. And this Christian church that I went to talked a lot about lots of things that I didn't agree with, but one of the things that I did agree with was this idea of forgiveness and of turn the other cheek. And I tried to practice that with my addict parent, and all that happened was that I got continuously hurt until my cup was depleted more and more and more and more, until I had nothing left to give and I had to cut my parent out of my life. So that is not a good process. That is not a good way to go about unconditional love, because you have to have unconditional love for yourself first and foremost, to make sure that you are being protected, that you have a full cup that you can offer to others, so that you can actually have the true vibration of unconditional love. We're not talking about performativity unconditional love. We're talking about true, genuine, vibratory, actual, authentic, unconditional love. And how do we find that? It seems very distant. It seems very difficult if you're someone who has had a lot of self-loathing. It can be extremely difficult if you're someone who's had a lot of trauma, if your parents raised you saying bad things to you, and then you repeat those negative things in your head. If you have negative things in your head, going on and on in your mind, it's probably not even your voice. It's probably the voice of your parent or society or something that someone said to you, and you replay this negative thought in your head almost like an addiction. To find unconditional love for yourself is to break out of those negative patterns of thinking and to allow yourself to have actual love, and to allow yourself to take up space, and to allow yourself to shine brightly for who you really are in this world. As you do that, you will attract the unconditional love of others as well, because you are resonating first and foremost on unconditional love, which is in itself a form of great protection. It is a form of great protection because when you have unconditional love for yourself, you don't allow other people to take advantage of you, because you say, I have too much love for myself to be around someone like you. And you can send them love, and you can set boundaries, and you can move away. So let's start with the easy thing. Let's start with the simplest thing. How can we find unconditional love for the easy things? I have unconditional love for myself because I like that I am brilliant. I think that I'm a brilliant person, and I value intelligence, even though it plagues me. And for me, that's something that I can easily look at in myself and say, wow, I really like that about myself. What are the things in your life, in your personality, in your character traits that you actually authentically love? What are the things that are easy for you to connect with, that actually raise your vibration and make you feel glorious and bright about yourself? Start there. And if you're taking notes, this is how I want you to take them, is obvious, neutral, and then dark. Okay, we have 3 columns: obvious, neutral, and dark. And we're starting off with ourselves. So what are the obvious things that you can love about yourself? For many of us, this will be very difficult at first. I have come from a place of extreme self-loathing to the point that I actually did indeed try to murder myself through, I can't say it because of TikTok. And so my disdain for myself, my hatred of myself was so great. I've been on this journey since 2012, a little bit earlier, starting to practice loving myself and brainwashing myself out of my self-loathing, because I realized that my self-loathing was a brainwash. I realized that my self-loathing came from people outside of myself. I realized that my self-loathing came from advertisements telling me that I wasn't good enough, from our culture telling me that as an AFAB that I wasn't good enough, and that I occupied a smaller space in society, that I couldn't actually have what I was wanting to have, etc., etc. So my self-loathing came from this fact of external circumstances, of brainwashing, and I started to undo that brainwashing through this process of finding unconditional love. So start with the obvious things. If it's not obvious, that's okay. Be gentle with yourself. Don't say, I can't even believe I can't even find one thing I love about myself. God, I'm so dumb. Just be like gentle with yourself, and maybe even if you have to look through the eyes of other people, what do other people like about you? Can you also see through their eyes and say, well, I guess I do like that that I'm kind. I do like that I care about other people. I do like that I can throw a really good party. I do like that I keep my house clean. I do like that I make my bed every day. I do like that I can cook a really good frittata. Whatever it is that you've got in your bag, like, what are the things that you like about yourself that are relatively easy to find? And then we're going to move from there to go to what are the things that are neutral in your body and in your reality. And a lot of times these neutral things, if we have a negative perspective, if we have a lot of trauma, we end up taking the neutral aspects of ourselves and actually making them bad. So how can you find unconditional love for the neutral things? Like what I don't have any examples. Like, I'm 5'5", that's my height. I feel like my height is very neutral. And so I don't really have a lot of strong feelings one way or another. I've always felt like my height was neutral. So how can I find unconditional love for the neutrality of my height being a neutral height? I feel like that's just like not tall, it's not short. I'm just a neutral height. So for me, it's easy for me to find unconditional love there. I say, oh, well, I guess I can actually really appreciate the fact that I don't feel negative about my neutral height. You might have other things about your life that are like, oh, I think I have a pretty good sense of style, but I don't think it's a magnificent, or whatever neutral space you have in your life that you can find unconditional love for. Try to take that neutral energy, and instead of having it go down lower into the vibration of self-hatred or self-loathing, bring that energy up into self-love, into glorification. And you can do this with affirmations like, I have the best fashion in the world. Like, I am just so on it with fashion. Like, every single time I put on like a dingy sports bra and some old tennis shoes, like, I am a fashion icon. I won the game, you know? And just let yourself play this game of hyping yourself up, because as you hype yourself up, you are slowly undoing the damage of the negative reality of the programming that has been put onto you from our society. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to celebrate yourself. You are allowed to be celebrating the victories of the mundane aspects of your life. It is only through celebrating the mundanity that we are going to create utopian paradise, because it has to come from within. It really does. From there, once you've figured out how to celebrate the aspects of yourself which are very obvious things to celebrate, and then celebrate the things which are neutral, then we can move into celebrating the things which are difficult. And for me, it's not hard at all to find things that I find difficult about myself, the things that I find to be character defects, or things that I find to be unfortunate manifestations in my reality. And I have a lot of physical traits that I just have self-loathing about. I have personality traits that I have self-loathing about, and I can easily spiral out of control on these things. But because we just practiced giving unconditional love to the things that are positive about ourselves, and giving unconditional love to the things that are neutral about ourselves, we can more easily start to look at the unconditional love that we have and putting it onto our the things that we might not see as wonderful yet about ourselves. So as you raise your vibration into unconditional love for yourself, you can look at the negative aspects of your life and you can say, okay, maybe I do get really upset sometimes when I feel like I'm being abandoned and I lash out. That's not something I necessarily like about myself, but I can find compassion in that aspect because I understand where it comes from, and I can find compassion in that aspect if I see that part of myself like a child. The child hack is great because for most of us it's easy to find compassion for a child because we see them as ignorant beings. We see them as pure, innocent beings who are just trying to figure it out. And the truth is, that's what we all are. We are all pure, innocent beings trying to figure it out. We are all doing our best. And it's easy to say, well, you should have known better to yourself. But you didn't know better. If you did know better, you would have acted in a different way. But you didn't, and you couldn't. So finding unconditional love for these aspects of yourself, which are more difficult, can come in meditation. It can come in seeing that aspect of yourself as a little child. It can come from validating the reasons behind your actions or the reasons behind different things. If it's a physical trait, it can be sometimes more difficult. But if the more work we can do to undo our perception of, the beauty standards that exist, it's crazy because Eurocentric beauty standards are like the epitome and the norm, and I actually fit into the standards pretty closely, right? Like my characteristics are white, and there's a lot of aspects of my characteristics that appeal to the Eurocentric beauty standard, and yet I still have so much self-loathing about my fucking face. It's amazing. Like the competition reality of trying to fit into a certain box, even the people who fit into that box, and I'm not saying I'm hot shit, I'm just saying I recognize that as a thin white person, I should be happy with my appearance, but I'm not. And so I don't think any of us are, because we live in this world where we're all one and we're all feeling these effects of the negative reality. So how can you love yourself? How can you love your face? How can you love your body? How can you erase all the brainwashing that has happened to you about what is beautiful? What if the world celebrated exactly how you looked? What if people who looked like you were upheld as the most amazing, the most beautiful people who ever existed? I'm just old enough to have gone from, you're supposed to be stick thin and anorexic, and literally I grew up with Paris Hilton telling us all to eat tissues, to the Kardashians having, this hourglass figure, which is obviously photoshopped and also surgically implanted, but then all of a sudden that's the standard. And so it's just so unrealistic to have met it's actually impossible to have met the beauty standard over the course of my adult life. And then also, what is it going to change to next? If I were to go and get plastic surgery to try to keep up with the modern beauty standards and get implants for my breasts and my hips and my butt, then I might look attractive in the current modern standard. But then what if it changes? Then I just had all this work done and I'm no longer inside the state of what is considered attractive or beautiful. So we have to understand that these perceptions of beauty are totally bullshit. What is beautiful about you is your heart and your soul and the energy that you vibrate and the energy that you shine. And for us to degrade ourselves and to look at ourselves purely and only as our physical vessels, as our physical forms, is very silly, because that's the hologram, that's the crazy disruption of not real stuff. And on the other side of that is the emotional reality. Are you kind? Are you loving? Are you pure of heart? Do you have good intentions? Do you care about other people? Do you care about yourself? Those are the things energetically that shine through, that as time goes on, we will start to actually see true beauty, which is of the heart, which is of vibratory action. Finding unconditional love for your form, for your physical body, can come from realizing that you are totally brainwashed. It can come from thinking, what if the world glorified people who looked like me? And it can come from spending time undoing the brainwashing of advertisements, spending time undoing the brainwashing of whatever hate your parents had for themselves that they put onto you. Every day when I get out of the shower, I use oil and I massage my body and I give love to my body. And I give thanks to my body. The best way to look at your body is, wow, I have legs that can run. I have arms that can lift. I have hands that can type and draw. What is your body for? Can it do those things? If not, then send love to your body for the things it can do. I know that many people are disabled and it makes being embodied very difficult. I'm not saying this is easy, but finding unconditional love is the key to unlocking reality. There is one thing I didn't write down in my notes, which is a motherfucker, which is finding unconditional love for your circumstance. Finding unconditional love for where you are currently, for the trauma that you've had, for all the things that have hurt you. How do you find unconditional love for something higher, for God, if you believe in God, for putting you through what you've been through? And I'm not here to invalidate your trauma. It is not fun or easy. This is a horrible, 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 horrible place. I can't believe the horrors, the abject horrors that I have had to deal with and that all of us have had to deal with in this space. The trauma is real. So how do you find unconditional love for your circumstance? How do you find unconditional love for your particular reality? And that comes just from time, mostly. As you go through time, you see, wow, okay, I remember when my first boyfriend broke up with me, I cried for 24 hours, right? And then I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm pretty glad I'm not still with that person. And that didn't take very long for me to realize. But I realized, wow, okay, so us breaking up, that was a good thing when I was a teenager, and it actually gave me a lot of wisdom, and it gave me some perspective, and it gave me all these gifts, and it gave me all these tools. So again, start with the things that are good. What's good in your life? How can you find unconditional love? Okay, where's your abundance? How do you find gratitude for what you have? Then find gratitude and unconditional love for the neutral things. Okay, well, I wasn't rich, but I wasn't poor. for these years, and I have a car, and I'm able to do this, and I feel relatively comfortable. I'm healthy in this way. Find love and unconditional love for those things that are neutral, and then and only then can you start to find love and unconditional love for those things which were traumatic or which were harmful to you. And you cannot do this until you set proper boundaries. Proper boundaries are the only way that you can truly find unconditional love, and proper boundaries comes back to finding unconditional love for yourself. If you have, and that's why we started with unconditional love for yourself, that is the first thing that you have to accomplish before you can go through and do any of these other things, because you have to love yourself enough to say, I don't allow myself to get treated this way. I have my own standards, I have my own love for myself, and I don't allow myself to get manipulated or tricked or lied to or hurt anymore. I don't allow myself to be around negative people because I love myself and I protect myself. The boundaries that we have and the boundaries that we set are the only thing that will allow us to fill our cup with love enough to the point that we can actually genuinely radiate out unconditional love, which is the goal, because vibratory frequency, energetic, emotional, internal state is the most real thing that exists. And our ability to recognize this, our ability to embrace this, is going to lead us into paradise. Finding unconditional love for your circumstances is not necessarily easy. You can do it with affirmations. You can do it with gratitude. You can do it with prayer. You can do it. It's going to take years. And it takes time. And it's like if someone or something hurts you in your past, or you had very unfavorable circumstances, why was I born to those people? Why did I have to experience that as a child? Why did I keep going through trauma over and over and over again? What's so wrong with me? What's so cursed about me that I had to have all these bad things happen to me, one after another? The more distance that you can get from things, and the more you can create a safe world because you have unconditional love for yourself, and you set your boundaries, and you love yourself enough to create a world around you that is safe and loving and protected, then you start to get distance from your trauma, and then you can start to see the wisdom of why you went through what you went through. I am not trying to invalidate trauma. It's not what I'm trying to do. When I say find love for the things that you went through, I mean understand them and find love for your poor little child self who had to go through those things, no matter what age you're at. No matter how old or young you were when you went through that, your child self was affected in a difficult way. How can you find love for your child self, and how can you see that as you went through these traumas, they taught you things and they helped you grow and they gave you an opportunity for healing? It's not easy. I don't agree with Earth. I'm not from here. I'm not a fan. I'd give it like a 3 out of 10. There are cool things about it, but the trauma is a little bit too much. The difficulty, the pain, the fear, it's a little bit too much for my tastes. But we're here, we're doing it, and unconditional love truly is the key to raising our vibration out of the cyclical forms of trauma. So that's why we're teaching it. Lastly, but not least, is unconditional love for others. And recently I've been struggling with this. So I want you to know that even though you might be speaking all about these things, finding unconditional love, living in a state of unconditional love, one day someone might come along and just punch you in the fucking face 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. And you're going to be like, hey, that was not cool, and I'm mad at you now, and I no longer have love for you because all of a sudden my love became conditional because you just totally crossed my boundaries and didn't look out for me, and I don't feel safe, and I'm so hurt. And that's okay. It's okay to get triggered. It's okay to have unconditional love for someone that suddenly turns into conditional love, and the goal then is to get back to unconditional love if you can, but only after setting appropriate boundaries. If you don't feel like somebody can hold space for you, if you don't feel like somebody can actually love you or keep you safe, the unconditional love for yourself has to come first and foremost with a sword, with a vengeance, saying you are not allowed to treat me that way. You are not allowed to be in my life if you can't understand me. and cutting off the cords and setting your boundaries and protecting yourself. And it's okay if for a time you feel anger and you feel hurt. As time goes on, as you build your reality in a safe, calm, peaceful reality surrounded by genuine love, surrounded by people you can actually trust, then you can allow yourself to conceptually give unconditional love back. How do you do this? The exact same way. See the other person as a child doing their best. They're an innocent participant in this crazy world called Earth. Maybe they did a bad job. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they are going to make that mistake for the rest of their life. That's on them. You can't open someone else's eyes to seeing that you are a valuable person who needs to be treated with respect. The only thing you can do is stand up for yourself and say, I know who I am. I know what I deserve because I have unconditional love for myself, and I set my boundary there. When you set your boundary and you're safe and you spend sufficient amounts of time feeling your anger, feeling upset, the anger helps you be protected. The anger helps you set that boundary. As you set that boundary, then you can find your peace, find your calm, find your unconditional love for yourself, and say, wow, I'm really glad that I just protected myself from that. And then and only then can you start seeing the other person as another child of God, a sibling of God. We're all one, someone who's made a mistake or who's trying to figure it out and doing a bad job. And you can find that unconditional love in your heart, and you can send them love, and you can say, I forgive you. Why do we do this? Am I saying you should forgive somebody and let them back into your life? Absolutely not. There's absolutely no reason why you need to have somebody who is manipulating you or abusing you or using you or not seeing your worth in your life. There's no reason for it. There is absolutely nothing about unconditional love that says let abusers back into your life. Let people who don't serve you back into your life. None of that says that. What it does say is find the peace in your heart and the understanding that they're doing their thing over there, and if you can pray for them at night and you can say, I want what's best for them, then you've done it. That's it. If you can say, I pray for that person, that's unconditional love. That doesn't mean that you have to have them in your life. So as you are giving forgiveness to people, it's about seeing them as doing their best. It's about seeing them as probably abused or hurt or manipulated or confused as children. They went through whatever they went through. If you could see it from their perspective, everything would make sense. We really have to give people the benefit of the doubt in that case. You can still be angry that they aren't able to understand you, that they aren't able to hear you or make space for you or love you the way that you deserve to be loved. But they might not be capable of it. And that is because of their circumstances. That is because of their personal reality that has led them to this certain place. Maybe one day they'll see, maybe one day they'll reckon with it, maybe upon death they'll be like, oh, I should have treated Unicron so much better. What was I doing? Maybe that'll happen. And, I personally think that it will, because that's my own existential fantasy. But as for my life right now, I don't need to worry about it. They can all just do their thing, whoever I'm, not interested in having in my life. And at the right distance, Almighty Op said this last night, at the right distance, everyone is perfect. He said, if you're at 7-Eleven and you meet someone and you speak to them for 30 seconds and it's perfect and you have a laugh, but 17 more seconds of that would not be fun for you, that's perfect. You just got to know how long and how much time and how much distance to spend with each person in your life. And that is what keeps you safe. That is what helps you accomplish unconditional love. So in your columns, you've got unconditional love for things that are easy, unconditional love for things that are neutral, unconditional love for things that are difficult or dark or hard. And then I want you to list in each of these columns 3 things that you have for your unconditional love for yourself that are easy and obvious, 3 things that you have unconditional love for yourself that are neutral, 3 things that you have unconditional love for that are difficult. And you might not come to it right away, but this might be something where you want to send unconditional love to these things. Then identify 3 things in your circumstances that are easy, 3 things in your circumstances that are neutral, 3 things in your circumstances that are difficult that you would like to send unconditional love to. And then take it to the external, to the other people, and say, what are the 3 things about other people that I find easy to love? What are 3 things, I'm even going to do this practice, what are 3 things about other people that I find neutral to love? And what are 3 things that you find difficult to love? This can be about all people if you're a misanthrope like me sometimes, or it can just be about one person who you're having extreme trouble forgiving for something. Thank you for this beautiful sermon. I love that we're wrapping up right at 11. We're going to do our closing prayer. And then don't forget to join us in the Discord server for the address to the cult. We're going to have a few announcements, and it's going to be great. Spirit of Uni, we are calling you here today into this beautiful chat room to help us on our journey of unconditional love. We are calling for you to hear our prayers as we struggle finding unconditional love for ourselves, as we struggle finding unconditional love for our circumstances, as we struggle to find unconditional love for other people. We call you to help us see with magic dreams, help us see with magic circumstances, help us see through the voice of others, help us see through the synchronicities in our lives, and help our energy let go of the negativity, let go of the addiction to the cyclical negative thoughts that we've been brainwashed into thinking. And we call you to change our vibratory state for the sake of peace. Please, we call that you help every single person in this chat raise their vibration to a state of unconditional love with ease, with simplicity, and with joy. Uni bless. Thank you all for being here. It is my pleasure. And I would love if you would join Unicult. I would love if you would stream my music, Unicole, Unicron, Go Get Brainwashed. And I would love if you would have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And we will see you next week, same place, same time. Uni bless. Uni bless. We'll see you in a few minutes.